morning, everybody. The only time I seem to be happy is when I'm in nature. And that's why I work in nature. Welcome, everybody. My name is Richard Tejeda. I am with Monterey-based Salmon and Trout Project. Welcome to session 3. We've been doing a series, a virtual series, that has been sponsored and funded actually by NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. It's exciting. We have this series going on. If you've joined us from the beginning, we started the San Lorenzo River upper watershed, where we learned about, actually, wow, what do I have in my pocket? Looks like some eggs. So we started off and we learned about salmon eggs, right? And we learned about how they hatch and what spawning is. And we're talking about salmon and trout, which are beautiful species that live in our local waterways. And so we started off, can you see that in the frame here? Yeah. We started off as eggs, and then we learned about eyed eggs and then elevin. Well, today we're going to be, and then we learned about fry, but we're going to be talking about today habitat and drought. And right now we've moved right into from spring and right into summer. Yesterday this creek looked much different than it did right after we got these rains. And so we're going to be talking about how drybacks and how drought and how summer affects our anadromous native salmon and trout that live here in the Carmel River, the San Lorenzo River, and as well as the tributary to the Carmel River, which is Garza's Creek. Just want to make sure that you understand that we were on the San Lorenzo watershed in Santa Cruz, and now we're in Monterey area in Carmel, and now we're on the Carmel River watershed, okay? And so here's some specimens for you to look at. Eggs, eyed eggs, elevin, and fry. And so we learned about elevin and how they hide in the gravel. We learned about fry and how they enter the water column at this point and how they feed off of macroinvertebrates, okay? So I just want to orient you really quick. And I want to orient you. So John, go ahead and pull up photo number 1, which is an aerial. If you look at the yellow star, you'll see that we are indeed on the Carmel River. So you see that Carmel River. And you also see a bunch of tributaries that come into the Carmel River and make the Carmel River the mighty Carmel River that it is that we see right now. Right? And at that star, you'll see right where Garza's Creek is coming in. We're lucky enough to be right here at that confluence, which is not very common, right? We have this great location thanks to Meg, and this is where Garza's Creek meets the Carmel River. So guys, you go ahead and show them exactly how that happens. We have Garza's Creek coming in. It changes from this tea color, and then it's coming in and it has this barrier. We're going to be talking about that in a second, okay? So again, where we left off last time, the fry, they started eating macroinvertebrates. They start taking on the characteristics of a rainbow trout. They have the paw marks. They start to get fins. They enter the water column, and they use those paw marks as camouflage so that they can hide from predators in the river. Okay? This is a question for the viewers. When summer comes, what do you think is going to be the problem for our native salmon and trout? Go ahead and take a second to put it in the chat. Go ahead and raise your hand, or go ahead and just yell it out. What is going to be the problem for our salmon and trout here when summer comes? Warm temperatures is absolutely one. Warm temperatures. What's another?
Somebody said low water.
Low water. Somebody said low water. Somebody said dry up completely. Absolutely. So those are all things that can be detrimental to the life cycle of the salmon and trout. Although that we see that this water does get low, there's things that are in the water that act as habitat, protection from predators, and also provide shade. And we're going to be going through this area right here where we're standing, and we're going to be putting in probes, temperature probes, in about 4 different locations. We're going to take the measurement, the depth measurement of that area. And I just want to show you, today I'm wearing special pants. If there's any kids watching today, I'm wearing special, what's called wader pants. They have booties, and although my feet are not getting wet because I put these pants on and they protect me, and then I put these shoes on right here, if I can stand up. I have these shoes that go over the booties, and so then I'm entirely dry, okay? So one thing I want to tell you though is that when I'm in these, because these are not like neoprene waders, where they protect me from cold water, I can actually feel the water temperature change as I walk through the water. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today. Now you see this area right behind me, and you might say, well, this is just water, Mr. Richard. It's just like the temperature's probably all going to be the same, and you might be right because we did have some rain. I'm going to go ahead, and Elijah's going to come in with me, and we're going to throw these probes in using ropes, and we're going to put them in different locations. The first place we're going to be doing is this root ball right here, okay? Let me grab my equipment here. I'm going to work. There goes my clipboard in the water. Woohoo! You ain't having fun unless you get wet. Fish the clipboard out of the water. All right, so here we have some probes. These were bought by Ben Harris, our executive director for the Monterey-based Salmon Shop Project. You can get these off of eBay. They're really resilient. They're metal, and they work really, really well. If you're an educator or a teacher, I really recommend getting these. Don't spend all that big money and get that electronic stuff, okay, for the kids, because this stuff works well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in my pocket really quick. And then the first location is here, this root ball right here. If you can tell, it goes from this kind of rocky area into this deep area. And does anybody have any idea why this might be shallow and this might be dark and deep? Anybody want to raise your hand, throw it out, put it in the chat. Moderators, please let me know. What do you think? What do you guys think? Just look at it here. We'll check this out. We are at about 12 inches here. Now what's happening here is that we have some scouring going on. When the waters pick up, they hit this beautiful root ball here that looks like a mess of absolutely nothing, but it's a mess of beauty. It's a mess of natural infrastructure and habitat for these salmon and trout. So I'm standing in 12 inches of water, and I can feel the water around my calves, and it's kind of cold. But now, if I go back over here where oh Lord, I didn't expect it to be that deep, okay? So it's a little deeper than I thought. So we're going from 12 inches, now we've gone into 23 inches. And now I'm gonna throw my probe in here. We're gonna come back for this. I'm gonna put it right in behind this root ball because I wanna come back and say, hey, what's the temperature in this root ball? Right below, okay? We went from 12 inches to 23 inches. We'll come back and we'll check this one. We're gonna throw one right over here in that 12 inch area, okay? I got some long ones, I got some not so long ones. And right in front of me, swimming around in here are native fish species. We have some native fry that are hiding in the roots over here. And they're just swimming around. If Elijah sees any, if I see any, he's just gonna pinch and zoom on them and let you watch them swim for a second. We're gonna throw a probe right here at 16 inches. I'm just gonna lay this probe off over here, and I'm gonna throw it right in there, okay? 16 inches, there's our probe. We'll come back for it, okay? So we have a root ball where it's nice and deep. We have some scouring, which was caused by that root ball. The energy of the water hitting that root ball started to scour out this deep pool that's sitting right here, okay? We have gravel. Now we're gonna walk over to these deeper pools and watch this. I like the phone. So, well, actually, let's pick. What do you guys think? So, see, I'm kind of disappearing in here, right? Yeah, I'm disappearing. All right. So, what do you think the temperature is going to be at that root ball? What do you think the temperature is going to be at that 12 inches? And now we are at 28 inches. 28 inches, right? The velocity of the water is hitting this woody debris, and the energy is scouring out the area here, so it makes it deeper. My legs are cold as heck, like you couldn't imagine. They're just like freezing right now. So I went from not feeling any kind of coldness to now my legs are kind of freezing, okay? And it's gonna get worse for me at your benefit, don't worry. We're measuring in Fahrenheit. You can convert to Celsius if you like, and when the Monterey-based Salmon Trout Project, we usually have a graph with both Celsius and Fahrenheit. All right, so now we're gonna head all over to this deeper pool where the water is. Go ahead and show them where Garza's Creek is coming in. We see this riffle, we see some dissolved oxygen being created, and then we see that This area is being scoured out by the flow of the water, the energy of the water. We have some leaf matter in here, which may become a problem during this warmer weather when the leaf matter starts to eat up that dissolved oxygen. Like some of you said, that it's going to get warmer. There's going to be less water. Well, when that happens, if you didn't know, things in the water are decomposed by the dissolved oxygen. The same things that the fish breathe. So we'll get into that a little later. But right now, let me show you how deep it is over here. There's little fishies swimming all around. Little rainbow trout, California roach, maybe some Sacramento sucker fish in here. Maybe even some stickleback. Okay, so the fish like to hide under here in this area. Back over here, when I walk up to there, the fish just scatter and they're hiding under this undercut. Okay. Now, undercuts are very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, because if the water is too low, we have no undercut. Check this out. Let's see how far this undercut goes back. That acts as habitat. It also acts as shade. Not too far, but that's 7 inches that goes back. That's 7 inches of shade, 7 inches of protection from predators. That's 7 inches that they didn't have, or they're not going to have when it begins to dry out. Okay. So now I got my long probe, and I'm going to just throw this probe right here, and then we're going to let me take a measurement how deep it is. And so we're assessing habitat and why, when you look at these areas, why is it so important not to chop down these trees, right? So right here, we are at 28 inches, 28 inches right here. And so that's pretty cool. Let's see how, if it gets any deeper. This way we have a, all right, get them bets ready, I'm about to fall in. Oh, dang.
I'll just see water running from my boot.
We're at 32 inches, okay? So we've gone from, 32 inches to 24 to 12 to 23, and so we have, just in this little vicinity, we have all of these areas, and right now the water is extremely, extremely cold, and so now we're gonna head back, and now we have some sun coming in, which is gonna change that temperature in this area, right? We have some nice sun, I love it. You see that this area is kind of a tea color, which is much different than the Carmel River, and so that could be for geology reasons, it could be for many reasons, right? And so it could be because of this decomposing leaf matter. It's turning it that color. So let's go back to the first one really quick and see exactly what that temperature is. Does anybody want to guess on that tree stump, the probe that we put behind the tree stump, how cold do you think the water is? 45? So let's go ahead and pull this probe out right here. We have some sun coming in. Drop down into this little habitat area. I'm going to pull this out. Nice. Nice. Drop some degrees on us to where we are at 56 degrees. Good job. Good job, Dave. We had a 58. So 56 degrees, okay? And so what do you guys think? Right behind us, Elijah, show them the next probe. We have this dark area scoured out by the velocity, and then right here, we're right in the sun. Our probe's right in the sun. We're only at about 12 inches. Anybody want to guess? Do you think it's the same? We did have rain yesterday. Or do you think it's going to be lower? Do you think it's going to be different? And there's pyrite gold in here too. Get close, Elijah, and show them this pyrite gold really quick. I just want them to see this beauty of this place. It's like if you look really close, you'll start to see the pyrite gold shining on all the rocks in there. All right, it's really cool. It's everywhere. I can see it. It's beautiful. Let me pull this probe out. Guessing 60. Who guessed 60? It is 60. Woohoo! 4 degrees. A 4-degree temperature difference between 12 inches of water and 23 inches of water. The difference between having a root ball and not having a root ball is 4 degrees. And 4 degrees may be the difference between the eggs hatching before a predator gets them or not. Let's head over to this deep area over here, which is more shaded by this beautiful willow. We have these beautiful water-loving willows that are above, acting as natural shade. And so we'll come over here and see what's going on. With my trophy hanging out in the woody debris. I'm thinking that this one might be about 56 too. I'm thinking. What's total? 60. It's 60. There's no difference between here and the other place. We had a 4-degree difference behind that root ball. I don't understand it, okay? Let's move over here. It's where we're at about 32 inches of water. And just by the sheer depth of the water, we should be seeing a temperature difference. Getting older. 58. It was 58. So we went from 58 degrees to 60 degrees, 60 degrees to 56 degrees. So flowing deep water, 58 degrees, hits this corner, 60 degrees, hits that corner, 60 degrees, and then gets scoured out. And then the root ball provides habitat, shade, and depth, and then it shoots down 4 degrees temperature. So we see that something like a non-living root ball that has, everybody would say that has absolutely no use, and if anything it might cause a slow down the water for the homeowners around here and cause a flood or something, is actually very, very important in the temperature and habitat for our salmon and trout. Alright, let's head over here. And so now we're going to be looking at a dryback, okay? And so what's going to happen right here? Well, John, go ahead and pull up photos 2, 3, and 4, which are actually on Bean Creek, Bernie Falls State Park. My son's shaking his head because we go there. And what happens here is that Bernie Creek, I don't know if it's a geologic thing, but Bernie Creek will be flowing, and then I don't know if it's a geological thing with the rocks, or if the aquifer goes empty because the aquifer is too low, but the water disappears and goes underground and then comes back up and then flows and then creates Bernie Falls. So believe it or not, Bernie Falls, above Bernie Falls, goes dry at one point. And so Bean Creek in the Santa Cruz Mountains, which is a tributary to the San Lorenzo River, has the same thing where it goes dry. So you just see the progression of how an area dries up. That does happen. There are some things that you can do. We'll talk about that. And one of those things include calling out the Monterey Bay Salmon and Trout Project for rescue, okay? So right now I just want to show you this barrier that we have here. We're not too sure if this is a natural barrier or a natural or a non-natural thing going on here. So we're going to talk about natural and non-natural elements. And so, but before we do that, go ahead and take a look at this barrier. We have the coyote. Yesterday, it wasn't really breaching. It was breaching very little, but we got a good rain the entire night. And now if you look over to the left there, we see a breach happening where a fish can come in, a fish can out-migrate, but we have this natural barrier. Not too sure if that's human-made or not. Barriers do occur, naturally, non-naturally. And if we look at photo 5, shows an actual barrier that Meg pointed out upstream from here of where an area at one point might be a nice, beautiful waterfall, but when the water recedes, it turns into indeed a barrier, and they can't get past that. So there's natural barriers, and then there's man-made barriers like dams, which we'll get into, and then there's little things that could even be like a rock path. You know, you want to get across the creek, you make a little rock path so you don't get your feet wet, but at the same time, you're actually creating a barrier for the out-migrating and in-migrating salmon and trout. And so this right here, this could have been natural, or this could have been through time, through the years, people stacking up rocks here to either create a pool to swim in here or to walk across, okay? So we're gonna show you a real quick video of Aptos Creek. which is a tributary to the San Lorenzo River, more than positive. And this is what happens when the water gets low, or if we build these little areas for swimming. Yes, Richard Randolph.
I don't see him anymore. Yeah. Oh, there he is. Yeah. Whoa! Wow! Take a break.
Our anadromous species are really big when they make their way up from the ocean. So sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're lucky, sometimes they run out of luck. They can get picked off by a mammal predator, a bird predator while they're trying to make their way up like that. Sometimes people even poach them, right? So water is very important. And we'll talk about how you can help out and keep waters in our rivers and creeks. Follow me over here real quick. And when we're talking about this debris and we're talking about barriers, it is rocks. It is rocks. But it's also this debris, and in this debris is a bunch of beautiful like macroinvertebrates and all. But this is a barrier. So you have the rocks pile up, then you have this debris pile up, and it just becomes a barrier. You know, it really does. And so we have leaf matter, and this leaf matter eventually is going to start to consume the dissolved oxygen. Okay, so not only does it become a barrier, but it becomes other things, right? So they have a lot of odds against them, right? They just have things that they have to deal with, and there's things that we can do to help them out during that time, during their migration. Okay? So now I want to talk to you about man-made and natural-made things, okay? So something like you know, when we get these fish and they're isolated in a center channel, or they're fly and have to cover and hide from predators, is that we have natural and non-natural things. So like a natural thing is something that we talked about earlier, like some of you said, like no rainfall and evaporation. Man-made and natural-made things. There's not much we can do about the natural-made things like predators, drought, the water drying out, you know, evaporation. There's not much we can do about that. You know, there's something we can do about climate change and all that. But, you know, talking about like natural things like summer, we can't get rid of summer. But also natural things like how we talked about the creeks going underground. So like in Bean Creek, when the creek goes underground, there's no stopping it. So what happens is that we call in the Monterey Bay Salmon and Trout Project, and they come out with volunteers and buckets and nets and whatever else they need, and they're gonna put those fish in buckets and relocate those fish in an area where there is water. Okay, so that's one of the cool things that we do. What we're talking about is non-natural. So natural things, creeks going underground, evaporation, but non-natural things like humans pumping out too much water out of the river. Right, the rivers are what recharges our aquifer. If we pump out too much water, that can lower our water table, right? And thus lowering our rivers and creeks, because the higher our water table, the higher our rivers and creeks. Our water table is low, the lower our rivers and creeks. So us pumping out water for agriculture, right, which is a big problem these days, can be a problem. And using water excessively can also be a problem. Or if you live next to a creek or a golf course, water usage can be a problem. Another non-natural things, of course, is dams. Dams collect water for humans, and they're great in that sense, but in Santa Clara County, our dams provide less than 5% of the water, if you didn't know, because they're all silted over and old. Non-natural. we see that it reduces the stream flow, and which reduces groundwater recharge. So in a dam area, if you didn't know, the whole purpose is to keep the water there. So you're not going to build a dam in an area that's percolating water, because then your water's going to be gone. So you build a dam in an area where geologically the water stays, thus removing the water from natural recharge. And so we need the waters in our creeks so that it raises our water table. And that's where we get our drinking water, and that's why it's so important. Right? And so back to non-natural, there's a fish jumping around right over there. That was pretty amazing. There's a rainbow trout came up and smacked the fly like crazy right here. That was so cool. And anyhow, and so we see this debris in the water. So now what happens is that we have this yard trimming. Now if you rake leaves from your yard into the gutter, they come directly into the river and creeks. So the reason why they say there's only water should go down to your creek, because if we look over here, Elijah, let's look over here really quick. We see we have this pool of water, okay? Now, from fall and from the wind, all of these leaves are gonna fall into this area, and if we walk over there, there's nothing but leaves in Gaza's Creek. So when the water goes down, the decomposition of the leaves is going to consume the dissolved oxygen, and any fish in this pool will perish. They will die because they don't have any dissolved oxygen in the water, because the dissolved oxygen was used. So that means that decomposition consumes the dissolved oxygen. When it's done decomposition, then the dissolved oxygen level will return back to normal. But so we see this curve of decomposition and dissolved oxygen, which is bad for the fish. We're talking about the eggs, we're talking about the fry and the element in the fry, and we're talking about the natural and non-natural elements that affect them. So we talked about that. So I just want to make sure that you're paying attention to Mr. Richard. What is one non-natural, what is one man-made element that salmon and trout have to deal with during summer? Put it in the chats, yell it out, raise your hand. Don't leave me hanging. What is one non-natural element that salmon and trout have to deal with in summer?
Dams.
Dams. So what did the fish say when it couldn't swim anymore? Dam. So dams are a big problem. They can control the flow of the water, right? And I don't necessarily like dams too much. They hold back silt. They warm up the water. So you have cool water being fed into the dam, and the dam's sitting, the water heating up, and then that water being released. And we know that warm water has less dissolved oxygen. So you're also stopping the woody debris flow. You're also stopping the nutrient flow. So you're stopping all these natural flows, right? By having a dam. So that is indeed one man-made thing. Why is that so important? Well, what's going to happen here again is the dissolved oxygen from this pool is going to go down once the water starts to evaporate. Another thing is that this fish is going to be in this pool looking for resources like macroinvertebrates. The fish could eat them all. The macroinvertebrates themselves can perish from a lack of dissolved oxygen. So then you have a fish swimming around in a pool with no food and gasping for dissolved oxygen. And we have video, underwater video of salmon and trout swimming around in circles, gasping, opening up their mouth, trying to get dissolved oxygen, and they're swimming around in circles until eventually they're either rescued, picked off by a predator, or perish.
The little bar you were showing at the end of Garza's Creek there, where it reaches the Carmel River right behind you, I think those rocks were deposited there because of the turbulence along the edge where the Carmel is flowing very fast and Garza's Creek is coming in, and the water is very turbulent because it's coming in two different directions, and it creates eddies and things where the water is swirling around in circles, and that slows it down a little bit, and the sediment drops out. That's what makes that little bar. And then the fish can get over that, like in that little video you showed us. They can get through that. They can get through pretty amazing stuff. And when the oxygen drops really low,
yeah,
they can sense that and swim away from it.
I say we do something fun, and that is simulate. Simulate. We're talking about this stuff, but how does it actually work? All right, follow me this way. Yeah. This way. All right. You got your fitting? All right, so look, we have a barrier, we have a fish. We have the Carmel, we have Goss's Creek. We have this barrier, but like Matt's saying, we do have an opening now. So is the fish gonna come right here and jump over those rocks? No, the fish is kind of smart. Fish is like, I wanna save my energy. What the fish is gonna do, I want you to follow me up. Follow behind me, okay? This is what the fish is gonna do. Follow me. It's gonna come right through this channel, and guess where it's gonna go? You think it's gonna go right into the open where that water was only 12 inches deep? No. Where's it gonna go? It's gonna come right into this channel. You think it wants to go to the warm water and hang out? So the salmon is going to come and it's gonna hide out right behind that root ball where it's deep, where it has cover, where it has oxygen, and where the temperature is nice and cool. Okay? There's that root ball. It's gonna rest because remember it says take a break. It's worked its way up. It needs a place to take a break. It doesn't want to take a break in the shallow water where it's gonna get picked off. So it's gonna take a break. Follow me. To the word root. The salmon is gonna come here and hang out. Okay? Then it's gonna shoot its way up here. It might take cover under this root ball. It might take some quick cover here before shooting right through here. And coming along here. And it's gonna come through here. You notice it's going through all the same places we went through. And it's gonna come through this way. And it's gonna use that 7-inch undercut. The fish is only 3 inches wide, 4 inches wide. It's gonna come under here and it's gonna use this undercut. It's gonna let that dissolved oxygen come through its gills and it's gonna open its mouth and it's gonna breathe, rest right here in this deep pool, nice and cool, lots of dissolved oxygen, cover and shade before making its way up, okay? So that's how a fish uses its natural elements in the river or creek to stay alive, to stay cool, to find oxygen, to find shade. It's pretty amazing. I remember when I worked for the water district, we used to give out like 5-minute shower timers or something like that. And so you can take shorter showers, of course, turn off the water when you're brushing your teeth, have a native lawn instead of a non-native. Native plants only need to get started, and then after that they're really drought tolerant, so you use less water on your plants, and that leaves more water for the rivers and creeks. You know, washing laundry or even washing your dishes. You always want to make sure you have a full load. And again, if you do come across any fish that are stranded in a pool and they look like they're not going to make it, give us a call. The Monterey Bay Salmon Trout Project, shoot us an email and we'll come out and rescue those fish and move them to another location so that they can have a fighting chance during the summer, right? So taking these non-natural and natural elements, right, but then helping the fish because they might have a low survival rate. When they already have a low survival rate, right, when they're dealing with natural elements, let alone non-natural elements. So let's let's get together and help them out the best way we can. On this area, the good news was that the San Clemente Dam was removed, and so we're gonna just finish off with that good news, which was an explosion of the silt that was once behind the dam. If you didn't know, dams do not last forever. Dams are built, the natural sediment and silt builds up behind those dams, and can fill the dam up, thus reducing its capacity, some even down to 25%. Let's show that video of not the dam being exploded, but just the amount of silt that was built up behind that dam. And so they have to blow that silt and sediment up so that the flow can come back down. It can start to meander again and act like a natural river. So let's go and show that one, John, real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't last time, but, huh.
I'd like to just thank you once again for joining us for this session with the Monterey-based Salmon and Trout Project and virtual photo walks. And we'll see you at the next one. Hope you learned a little bit about something and today about salmon and trout and about how they deal with summer that's coming up and how these little things such as root balls and trees. Really quick, just want to show you this tree that was cut down by somebody, and this is what we're kind of talking about. So if you're in a position to make a difference and this tree is on your property, you don't want to chop the tree down because you just chop down the habitat of your fish. Okay, so these are the things that we can do to make these little kind of changes that make a big difference when it comes time for summer. This was the shade those fish were depending on. Now the water's going to be a little bit warm. All right, I'm done on my little soapbox. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.